Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank you for joining today. We've got some great information that we'll be discussing, and today is one of a series of webinars. We have 6 all lined out. We've got some great white papers written on each of these topics, and today we are covering number 3 of 6, SMBs need more than just backup. Previously, we've conducted the other 2, disaster preparedness tips for businesses and the 5 myths of reliable tape backup. Those were recorded, like this one will be today, and are posted on our website, YouTube page, different locations. So if you missed any of those and you'd like to see that information, definitely you should be able to find that or give us a ring. We can point you in that direction. After today, we've got some good presentations coming up that have some very concrete information to help you move through the process of determining where you are with disaster recovery and business continuity, and then if you need help, some very specific information on how to go about looking at that and building a case and building a business continuity plan. And then we'll talk about, on the final webinar of the series, some best practices for disaster recovery planning and testing. So once you've got your business continuity plan in place, you do need to test it periodically and make sure it's working and still is relevant for where you're at with your business. So real quick, the agenda today is pretty simple. I'm going to give you a quick introduction about Apex and our organization and what we look like, and then we're going to jump right into the topic, and then we'll have some room and time for questions at the end. So if you have any, you can ask those in the question box, and we'll definitely get to all of them at the end. Again, my name is George Pasadakis. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at Apex Technology Management. We are headquartered in Redding, California, but we've got clients throughout the state. We've been in business for 25 years, so we're going to have a great 25th year anniversary party a little bit later in the year. We're moving into a new facility in the next month and a half or 2 months, and we'll definitely be sending out some information on that. And if you're in the area, it'd be great to join us there and see the new facility. We've got over 30 employees with a lot of experience in the IT realm. We provide both remote and on-site IT support with 24/7 response. Our clients are all in the small and medium business marketplace, so we're very focused on what that market space needs and all of the technology to bring to bear to help you accomplish your goals as a business organization, not wanting to be just an IT company. That's what we can help you with. We've got lots of certifications you can see down at the bottom there from all the major industry players. Our team is constantly educating themselves and getting the latest and greatest certifications so that we can bring the state-of-the-art solutions to bear for your business and solving your business problems with technology. Okay, we've got, as I mentioned, a fully staffed network operations center and help desk in Redding. So we have people that are always here taking calls from our clients. We encourage the users and staff at our clients to call us directly. You don't have to go through one person at your company. Our organization is here to take their calls directly. We can remote on to a system very quickly, work with them to solve the problem, get them back to work as quickly as possible. So we've always got people here. They're not out in the field busy with projects. We have other teams within Apex that are focused on that. And there's our current building, which will be evacuating soon, and it's served us well, but we're just growing and need to get some new space. Okay, right to the topic here. One of the things, as you know, if you're an owner or manager at a small and medium business, is the information that you have about your business, about your clients, about what you do, how you do things, is really the lifeblood of your business. You've got to keep the business running. You're depending on that information. You're depending on the IT systems that allow you and your staff and your customers to interact with that information. So it's really critical to protect that. And it can be challenging. You're doing more and more every year with technology. You're depending on it more and more. Your staff, in order to be competitive and productive, need the systems up and running. So what we're finding when we talk to SMB owners or managers is that everybody's struggling to figure out how to deal with that. And how do you really get to the point of having a system that's going to provide you with mission critical data recovery. When something's down, getting it back up quickly, making sure that your key applications are up and running. We've had prospects call us and a major system's down and they have 30 to 40 employees sitting there with nothing to do. They can't get to their system to take client calls. They can't build proposals, sell systems, what have you. Depending on how you use technology, you know what that means to your business. And then over the long run, how do you retain the data? What data do you need to retain? How long do you need to retain it? Are there industry regulations or guidelines on how long you need to be keeping past data? So those are all things that a small and medium business owner or manager really didn't start the business to focus on. They started it to serve their clients or provide a service to their customers, but these are things that need to get done. So it's very challenging. What we hear from them are some of the most common challenges are there's limited funds. A small and medium business doesn't have a huge IT budget, technology budget to spend from. You've got to make wise decisions, use what funds you do have properly. You also have limited IT resources. You don't have, at the size organization you probably are, you don't have a large IT staff that's dedicated to running and managing all of your systems and ensuring your backups are working and ready to go when you need it. So that's definitely a challenge out there, is how do you balance getting your job done, accomplishing your business objectives, but keeping your IT systems running. And then there's really an inadequate list of or set of options designed for small and medium businesses. Many of the solutions out there were designed from larger organizations, how they're doing things, and they tried to make them fit the small and medium business market, but lots of them were not very successful with that. Therefore, that creates some other struggles when you're trying to use that in a small and medium business. Okay, so we've boiled this down to the top 5 evaluation criteria. So if you're looking to protect your business and figure out the best way to do that and how to ensure your business is going to stay running in the event of a disaster, you need to be looking at some of these criteria as you're evaluating potential vendors. So we're going to go through each one of these today, give you some specific information, and then wrap it up. So the first criteria is recoverability. That's the most important thing. If you invest in a system, you spend the time and money to bring it up, you need to know that you can recover your data when you need it. So you need to ask your vendors, what is the scope of their data recovery? What is it going to allow me to do when something goes wrong? Does the solution let me recover an entire server and an application all at once, or just files? Many backups are what we call file by file or file level backups, where your critical data files, your customer database, your scanned in documents, those types of things are backed up, perhaps even up to the cloud. But now if you have a key server or multiple servers crash or get stolen, or a fire burns down the room that you keep them, now you've got to acquire a new piece of equipment, new servers, reload the operating system on it, find and reload all of your applications that you had that created that data, and then restore your data files to be up and running. So that's a long process. Other solutions let you recover the entire server in a few clicks, saving you time. Your staff is back to work right away. So you need to determine, is that important for you, and then does the vendor you're looking at support that? What's the speed of the recovery time? As I mentioned, if you're doing file level backups and you need to recover a down server, it could take a while. Or if your server hardware has completely failed or stolen, you need to order a new server, get it shipped to you, and then start the process. There's a couple of key terms that we've talked about on previous webinars, RTO and RPO. RTO is your recovery time objective. What is your objective to recover data in the event that you lose it, or the server goes down, or you have data corruption? Are you okay waiting a couple of days to come back online and follow those steps I previously mentioned, or do you need to provide that service with your business more quickly, and you need to be up and running within minutes or several hours? So that's something you need to think about. What is your RTO, your recovery time objective, and make sure the backup system you're looking at can meet that. And then the other item is the recovery point objective. So how much data can you afford to lose before you start that recovery and begin the process to come back online? So what I mean by that is, some organization we run into have weekly backups. So if they were to crash, they may only be able to go back as far as a week, and they're going to lose all of that data since that last backup a week ago and when they start the recovery operation. Most businesses generally are doing nightly backups, so you're going to be able to restore your data to a point in time as of last night or the last successful nightly backup. Some businesses, that's too much. They need to reduce that, and they need to take backups twice a day or every hour. So different systems allow you to set up and perform those backups at different levels. That's your recovery point objective. And then how automated are those recovery processes? So, is it a simple thing to do, or does it require a number of detailed steps that you or your IT partner are going to have to go through? And that makes the recovery take longer. There's more risk for something being missed or not happening, or a piece to make it happen takes a while to get in place. So different solutions have different recovery capabilities. Some are faster, some are slower. So very important to discuss with your vendor recoverability. Item 2 is the comprehensiveness of the solution. As I mentioned, the small and medium business is needing to do more and more with information. You depend on it more and more every year, and you need to make sure your backup system can handle that. There's a lot of moving parts in some of these. You have the applications that you're running, you have servers, you have the network that needs to be in place to allow all this to work. You've got the storage, you're storing more and more data every year, and then you've got the human-driven aspect of it. Somebody there, hopefully is managing the backup system, monitoring it, making sure it's getting done, because if you need to use it, it better be in place, and you better have good backups when you need it. That the time to discover there was a failure with some of these moving parts is not when you need the data. You need to be proactively ensuring that that's actually working well. Some vendors assemble all this into a really nice unified solution with a dashboard. Makes it very easy to see what's going on. Are the backups being successful? And if you need to recover a file that somebody deleted, a few clicks, they're back in action. Based on the type of data that you have. If you're a healthcare organization, financial services organization, anything that has confidential data, you need to make sure that data is encrypted and protected, so that if the backup copy is intercepted, if somebody loses it, if somebody steals it from your office, that they're not going to be able to get to that data unless they have the secure key. In some industries, there are regulations that you need to be doing this. It's not optional. With the advent of ransomware, you guys have probably seen some of our communications and even general news and media articles. This is a really large and growing problem, and it's bringing to light that you really need to have good backups, number one, and then keep them separate and disconnected from your production systems. Some of these ransomware attacks will actually go in, and if your backup data is connected to the server, let's say the tape from last night or an external hard drive that you back up to is connected to the server, guess what? It's going to find it, and it's going to either encrypt the data that's on the backup, so you won't be able to use it unless you pay the ransom, or it's going to erase the backup. One of the most recent ones, called SamSam, actually one of the first things they do is they find your backups and erase them securely. You're not going to get that data back. So that's an important aspect. If you have a lot of data that you're backing up and you need to recover it, if it's just a cloud backup, some of the systems you hear advertised on the radio and TV back up your data to the cloud, which is a great idea. But if you need to recover a ton of it, you could be down for days and days. We've had clients call us where they've lost their systems, their complete recovery is needed, and it literally took us days and days to recover that data and download it all file by file across the internet connection. So you need to make sure that if you're doing that, that your business is okay with that recovery time. And then, if you have a need and there's a disaster or your physical server crashes, are you able to spin up your critical applications in the cloud from an alternate location? We'll talk on the next couple of webinars about business continuity, but as a small business, if you have information that you would need to access or a service you need to provide to the community, if there's a fire or flood and it takes out your physical business location, including your servers and data, are you able to go to an alternate location where there's internet connectivity and spin up your server and applications in the cloud as recent as the last backup and begin to provide your service or product back out to your customers? And that kind of goes to the point of server failover. Many times we find small businesses running server hardware far beyond a useful lifespan of 3 to 5 years, and eventually the server will fail. The power supply goes out, a motherboard issue, or what have you, data corruption from the hard drives finally giving up their useful life. And now you're faced with ordering a new server, expediting the shipping, rebuilding it from scratch, or does your backup vendor that you're looking at offer a server failover? So we'll talk a little bit about a solution at the end of the webinar here that allows you to fail over to the backup appliance itself very quickly, and then allow your staff or your IT partner to acquire that new server and bring it up and live, and then cut back over from the backup system. The third item would be ease of use. We're in the small and medium business marketplace here. Complex systems that require specific training and ongoing training really don't fly with a small business. You've got to have a system that's easy to use. That's one of the key factors. It needs to do what you need it to do, but it also needs to be easy for you to use and for your staff to manage. Most cases that we find out there, a small and medium business doesn't have dedicated staff to deal with this on a daily basis. So if you are going to give this responsibility to somebody in the organization that's got another job and a key role within your company, it needs to be really easy for them to check in on, make sure everything's working properly as you expect it, and then if you need to recover a file or more an application or a server, that it's very easy to use. Many systems, they'll come in and a vendor will install it for you and you get it up and running quickly, but what we find is over time that capability degrades, the backups stop working, or they're throwing error messages that nobody's seeing, and you're really not going to have that data ready when you need it. What do you need to do to retain multiple copies of your data? We talked about that a little bit earlier. Are you needing to rotate backups off-site? Are you assigning that to one of your staff members? Are they doing that? How much overhead is in that? If you need to recover data from one of those tapes or hard drives that are off-site, you've got to go find the right one, bring it back. Just something somebody needs to oversee if that's the type of solution you have, or you're talking to a vendor that's offering that. And then for a small and medium business, you guys are growing fast. You're the lifeblood of our economy, and you need to have a solution that scales as you grow. You don't want to constantly be replacing your system, so you need to look into the future and make sure you select a system that can handle the projected growth of your business, and without disruption or huge costs. We'll talk a little bit about the cost towards the end here. Whatever solutions you are considering or looking at, you really want to make sure they have a small and medium business focus. As I mentioned, there's lots of technologies that have come down from larger companies and organizations. They don't really meet the needs that you have within your business. So look for vendors that really understand, and their primary marketplace are customers in your size of an organization. So get some references, find out from them, do they have other clients with the same type of industry that you're in, the same size that you can talk to? Ask them, what do they have as far as staff overseeing and managing the system? How much time does it actually take versus what that vendor is telling you? And what are the challenges that they may have had? Have they had to recover data? So like any new project, you definitely want to get some references and check them out and make sure that they're focused on the small and medium business. Support team. We have a lot of clients that eventually come to us very frustrated with calling a backup or other technology vendor and they're waiting on hold. They're so busy, it just takes a while for them to get to you. I'll tell you what, waiting on hold, if your server's down and you've got 20 or 40 or 50 or 100 employees not able to work, it's not a fun thing to deal with. So test their support, call their support team, pretend like you're a client, see what that support's like. Usually they're very happy to talk to you if they find out you're evaluating them to possibly use their product or service. So that's important. Are they willing to provide a demonstration for you so you can actually see how easy it is to restore a file that somebody may delete or bring up a down server? These vendors should be able to do that for you. Don't be shy. Put them on display. Make sure that it works. Get the people or person that you're going to assign to manage the system and oversee it on that demonstration. Let them ask questions. So again, really make sure any solution you're looking at is focused on the small and medium business. And then the final item is affordability. We talked a little bit about it. It's very easy to just get stuck comparing the initial cost of a data backup or business continuity solution, but there are many other costs that are involved with a system that's going to really do what you need for your business. You need to look at the cost of support. Some vendors charge you by the support call. Some don't. Some it's included in the service. Are there software maintenance costs that you will incur over time? Many times you'll buy a system, it's going to include 1 year of software maintenance and support. Then you're going to need to renew it. What is that renewal cost? They all have different structures and pricing models, so you need to go into it up front, understanding what your total costs are, and be able to compare everybody on a level playing field. Upgrades to new versions. Many times the backup system you're going to choose needs to be upgraded. Let's say you upgrade from Server 2008 to Server 2012, or your key line of business application uses a different SQL database. You may need to upgrade to a new version of the backup software to support that and continue to get good backups, but those are going to cost you. So how do they price in upgrades? If you're on their software maintenance, hopefully it's included in that, and not all vendors are the same. Plugins. Many times, backup systems, especially those that have migrated down from larger organizations, have numerous plugins. So depending on the environment that you currently have and anything you add to it in the future, you may need to buy extra cost plugins. So if you have a Microsoft Exchange email server, for example, you may need to buy a specific plugin for the backup system to capture and back up that data properly. SQL Server. Many vendors charge you extra to back up each SQL server. So just look at it. What is the technology you have? What are the total costs? And then also factor in if you need to have staff rotate media, tapes, external hard drives, that type of thing. You can make that work, but there's some cost to that and some downsides. Somebody needs to make sure that's happening. They need to spend some time doing it, and that's definitely a cost that's taking that employee or staff member away from doing other things as far as generating revenue for your business. And then storage costs. Some of the media that you need to rotate off site, you need to store it somewhere, preferably in a secure, fireproof safe somewhere. What's the cost of that? Are you renting a safe deposit box and driving it down to the bank vault once a day? You taking it to somebody's house? Just look at that. What are the storage costs, and try and uncover everything from each of these vendors you're considering. And then very importantly, how does it grow with your business? As I mentioned, we see small businesses and medium businesses growing very rapidly in many cases, and that's the goal of most business owners. The system that you select, is it going to be able to scale with you? Are you paying only for what you use and retain? You don't want to be paying a lot up front, knowing in a year or two you're going to be storing a certain amount of data. Let the system grow with you, pay for what you're using, and what you find is as you're growing, you're able to scale up the storage amount for backing up the new levels of data that you have. Yes, the cost will likely go up as you grow, but that's something you can factor into your business plan and your annual budget. So that's something to look for. And then what's the pricing model? Some of these are so complicated. You have all these different pieces and plugins and software maintenance and upgrades. It's very difficult for the typical small and medium business owner to understand how that works and really be confident that they've got the overall pricing in their budget over time and that they're going to be able to allocate the funds to it without surprises. So look at the pricing model. Some are simple, some are not so simple. So those are the key evaluation criteria if you're going to be looking at a new backup system or business continuity capability: recovery, comprehensiveness, ease of use, SMB specific focus, and affordability. We have a white paper you can download from our website. You'll get an email after the webinar with a link to that that goes into each of these in detail. So hopefully that's been good information for you. I did mention I would briefly touch on a hybrid backup model, and this is something that we're going to talk about more on future webinars, but the topic of this webinar was SMBs need more than just backup. So a backup system really needs to be providing several things for you. Number one, securing your data, making sure it's available when you need it. And one of the best solutions that have come out for the small and medium business is the hybrid model. And essentially what that does is we have a backup appliance that's at the site where your servers are located, and it's providing very high-speed backups on your local area network from all of your servers, key desktops or laptops if you need to recover those quickly. And you can have, as I mentioned, backups that happen nightly, several times a day, every hour, depends on your business and your restore point objectives. And then nightly it's going to replicate automatically off to a secure cloud data center. So your data now is on the backup appliance at the office for quick recovery. Allows us to spin up a server or a workstation if it crashes and run it on the appliance very quickly within minutes. Or if there is a larger scale disaster and your facility is no longer able to operate from that location, or your server equipment has been stolen, very quickly to restore and recover your data from that cloud data center. You can spin up your server. Let's say you have QuickBooks and a point of sale system, or an electronic health record system. We can bring that up and running in the cloud, and you can access it from another alternative location that has an internet connection. So lots of benefits to the model. You don't have tapes to rotate offsite or external hard drives. As I mentioned, one of the key items for you is to make sure you can expand as you grow, so that storage on the backup appliance and in the cloud, you basically pay for what you're using. You don't have to have software agents on each server. We're providing that local appliance to do fast restores. You're not waiting to download large volumes of data over your internet connection. And then there are agents that allow you to have remote offices where you may have a small server with several employees or staff working from home. We can cover those servers as well, or workstations, and back them up to that same cloud storage, and keep everything nice and simple. So that's a little bit about a potential hybrid backup solution that you might want to look into. And a lot of this is very technical for the typical small and medium business owner. You don't have dedicated IT staff. And what's a good way to get started? We have prospects call us and they say, I need to figure this out. How do I get going on it? Can you help me with that? I don't have somebody here that's trained in IT. And one of the things that we do is a technical assessment. So we offer this as a service to the small medium business, where we can come in, take a look at three things. Where are you at now? Where do you need to be, and how do you get there? So we'll come in, take a look at all the technology that you have, work with you as the business owner or key managers to determine what your business priorities are, how you need access to that data, what your critical systems are. We'll go through and give you some great reports. You can see kind of a report card there with best practice score. We basically compare what you have currently to industry best practices, give you a score on that, and then give you specific information on what you need to do to take you from where you're currently at to where you should be. And we give you all of that information, and either your own staff can start working on those solutions, or you can look for an IT partner, or you can use Apex. So this is the best first step to do. You're going to get a lot of information besides just relating to backup and disaster recovery. We're going to assess all of those layers that you see there: inventory, security, reliability, and sustainability. So you're going to really get a good overall picture of your organization and where you're at and where you need to go with technology. As I mentioned, this is the third in the series of 6 webinars. The next one coming up will be on disaster recovery maturity framework. So we're going to give you some very easy to follow information to determine where your small and medium business is on a disaster recovery framework. So you can see the level of risk you might be taking. Are you in good shape or not? It's really good to understand that and know where you're going. So that will be the next upcoming webinar, which we'll be getting some email out shortly. And as I mentioned, we've got plenty of time for questions. So if anybody has asked any questions in the GoToMeeting box, Stuart will have those. How's it looking,
yeah,
Stuart?
George, we have a number of questions. Are you ready to answer those questions?
Let's jump right in.
All right, let me get the first one here all queued up for us. So Sandy wants to know that they tried, or like all the backup systems they tried, sorry, let me rephrase the question. It seems like the backup system that Sandy has tried so far has been very complicated. All of them have been too complicated, she says, and hard for her and her team to work with their technical support. Her question is, how do I keep my staff from being frustrated with that?
Yes, great question. And really, this is mainly a small and medium business challenge. Like I mentioned, you typically don't have dedicated IT staff to deal with this. What we find out there is people that have other jobs within the business are saddled with this IT responsibility, and they may have no training. They may be better than somebody else or the majority of people at the organization, and they're given this responsibility and they really struggle with it. She mentioned it's hard to get a hold of technical support at whatever backup vendor they're using now. That's not surprising. And then once you do get somebody on the support team, for somebody that's not trained in IT and experienced with this type of technology, it's very hard to work with those support agents. They may or may not even be in this country while you're talking to them. It makes it more difficult. And what we typically do for our clients is they don't call the technical support organization for any of their software. We do that for them. So we handle that IT responsibility. And if something's not working, let's say the backups have been failing for a couple of days and we get an automated alert to that fact, we're going to proactively reach out. We're going to make the call to that technical support vendor and hold their feet to the fire and handle that issue for them and keep the business owner or key contact at the organization updated. So one way is to have your IT partner take that burden off of your shoulders. If you're going to continue to do it yourself, that's one of the criteria that I mentioned is make a call to a proposed vendor's technical support. How long did it take them to answer? Were they nice? Were they polite? Were they able to talk to you in a language you understand, and not overly technical that is going to make it harder to resolve your issue? Like I said, being on hold for a backup vendor while your system's down becomes very stressful. So hopefully, Sandy, that gives you some good information to go on.
Great, George. And James, who's tuning in again, I think he was on our last webinar. And James, thanks. George and I really enjoyed our conversation last week on the phone. Thanks for reaching out to us. But George, James has a question this time from, he watched one of our previous webinars and he's still confused about the difference between backup and disaster recovery and business continuity. So maybe we could just touch on that a little bit here, George.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is a confusing topic. And if I go back a slide, you can see number 5 coming up. We're going to really dive into what business continuity is. But for today, there really are 2 different things. A backup and disaster recovery plan or capability is part of a business continuity plan. So with backups and disaster recovery, the main goal is that you have your data and your applications securely backed up, that's happening, that you're able to restore it and allow people to use it through any of the risks you identified for your business. So it's It's really one piece. It's restoring your information technology environment to a usable state. Business continuity is all about all of the aspects you need to have in place to continue to run your business or resume running your business after a disaster has happened. So let's say a fire burns down your building. We've had this happen to clients. Everything is lost. How are they going to be up and running with all of the things they need, not just their IT system? So how do your staff contact each other to know where to go and who to reach? What if your phone system at your office has also burnt down? You're not going to be able to communicate that way. So business continuity has more than just technology. It's your people, it's your business process, and it's your technology. So you need to be able to make sure your people are safe and secure. How are you going to reach them to assess that? How are you going to resume business operations? Where is that going to be? You need to be thinking of these things ahead of time. What do you need to resume those business operations? What are your critical business systems that you need to have in place? And then how are you going to continue to run during the disaster or until new facility you can move in, or your current facility is back in shape, or you can move back in and go get back to normal. So business continuity involves all of the things you need to do with people, processes, communication to be up and running and service your customers. The backup portion of that definitely needs to be there, it needs to work, and it's a piece of the overall business continuity plan. So again, we'll have more detail. We'll have a white paper we're going to release that discusses that in great detail. And then if you look at the first webinar again that we did, we talked a lot about that, not just drilling into the systems and technology, but the people aspects of it and the business processes to think about. So great question, James.
So George, Michael wants to know, he wants to start to figure out to implement a system like this for his business, but he doesn't have a dedicated IT staff at his company. What's the best way for him to move forward?
Okay, great question. Again, this is square in the realm of a small and medium business. You typically aren't large enough and don't have a budget such that you can have dedicated IT staff. Most small and medium businesses, they start small and they grow from there. And they need to be putting their money and their funds into growing the business, perhaps. And one of the things that we can do, I mentioned, I'll click back a couple slides, is this technical assessment. So that's a great way. We can come in, get on the systems that you have, take a look at what you're doing with it, what you need to be doing with it. We'll document all of that. We do both a physical walkthrough, we do a questionnaire with the business owner or key managers in the organization, and then we run some software tools on the network that collect some really helpful data. We put all of that together in the form of some reports, which we review with you, and we give you the top 10 priorities for moving forward to get you in a much better position. So, and we can do all of that without you having dedicated IT staff. And in fact, most of our clients do not have an IT staff directly. We do that for them. Some of the larger ones, they have one or two or more IT staff. We augment them with our team. We mentioned we have those technicians with different certifications, and we can come in and help their IT staff on key projects, key rollouts, bringing up a new site, or if they want to focus on that, we can be that first level help desk and take their end user calls directly. Great question, Michael.
And George, if I can add on to that, we do have a report coming out, or a PDF that we can send to Michael or anyone who's interested about how the technology assessment works with an organization just south of town, in south of Reading, that we helped out not too long ago with a technical assessment. That if you want to just send George or myself an email, and we'll make sure you get that. All right, last question, George, and then we'll wrap up. Robert says this current tape backup system is too slow and not able to, and they're not able to back up twice a day. Does the hybrid system that we described during this webinar allow for that twice a day backup?
Yes, it would. So that's one of those key criteria is your RPO, your restore point objectives. So how much data can your business lose and how much time before your backup system's online? So he mentioned, I think, tapes that they're using now tapes, especially as your data volume grows, can be a challenge. You can have backups that start at 6 p.m. Tonight, but they run overnight and into the next business morning, and now start to affect people trying to do their jobs. And you need to look at that and how long can a system take to get the backup done. And if you need to back up, I think he said twice a day or more, the hybrid system that we put out there definitely can do that. We can back up twice a day, 3 times a day, every hour. So it just depends on what your restore point objectives are for your business. But not all systems can support that. Some of the older file-by-file backups, they just take a while to copy all the files off, and you end up having to do full backups on one night and then incrementals every other night, which makes restoring more difficult down the line. Hopefully that answers Robert's question.
Well, George, that's the end of the questions we have. Do you want any closing comments before we end this webinar today?
Nope. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. We'll have the recording posted within a day or two. And if you have any questions from this, feel free to reach out to us at the information you see on the screen, our 800 number, 800-310-2739. Go to apex.com or shoot us an email to info@apex.com. We'd be happy to answer any additional questions you had or talk to you one-on-one about where you're at and where you need to go. We're always available to talk. Thank you.